So hello guys. From the previous class we stopped at question number 5, which is find the equation of the line through these 2 points. So the continuation of this, let's try question 6. Question 6 says find sine 75 without using table. So how will you go about this? But first you have to understand what we call special angles. What are special angles? Special angles are 30-degree, a sine angle that is being situated at 30-degree. We have 0-degree also. Starting from 0, we have 30, we have 45, we have sine 60, we have sine 90. These are all special angles. So we also have sine 180 too. 180, we have sine 270, we have sine 360, and we have more of them like that. So the first one is sine 0, the second one is sine 30, sine 45, sine 60. So how will we be able to get the answer to all these sine angles without even using any calculator? So the best explanation I could give you is just like a shortcut. So you show me your left hand. Using this your left hand, you let this finger represent 0 degree, let this represent 30, and let this represent 45, let this represent 60, and this last one represent 90. So if you want to look for sine of any function, sine of any value, when I say any value, I'm referring to the special angles. So I want to make use of any of the special angles. So the result is square root of before over 2. Square root of, count the number of fingers you have before that position, then divided by 2. So take for instance, I want to find sine 60. So where is 60? As you can see, this is my finger for angle 60. So if this is 60, try to draw this finger down. Okay, actually you started from 0, you are starting from here, right? So then sine 60 will give us what? And that will give us square root of, count the numbers you have before. How many numbers of fingers do you have before this 60? 1, 2, 3. That's 3. That's square root of 3 over 2. That's the final answer. So do you understand that? Similarly, what if I ask to find sine 30? Sine 30 will be square root of, now let's start. 30, where is 30? This is 30. Okay, so how many numbers of fingers do you have before this position? That's just 1. That's square root of 1 over 2. And what's square root of 1? That's 1 over 2. So without making use of calculator, you can easily get sine of all special angles. So the same thing goes for cosine. Cosine of any special angle will be equals to the square root of numbers you have after over 2. So it's just like an opposite to this. If I'm looking for cos of 60 now, cos 60 will give us square root of this is 60. So count the numbers you have after this. That's just 1. So that will be square root of 1 over 2. And that's 1 over 2. So that means cos 60 is equivalent to what? Sine 60. Now back to our question without making use of calculator. Now let's find sine 75. So to look for the value of sine 75, we have to break this down. We have to break this 75 to sum of angles using that same special angles. So now guys, what do you think I can use among all these special angles to get this 75? So I'll prefer you use this. I can decide to use 60 and 15, but 15 is not among all the special angles, right? So what can I use? What can I add from here to get 75? What if I use 30 and I use 45? The mixture of 30-degree and then with 45 degrees will give us this 75. Do you agree with that? So then the next thing for us to do from here is, now I have sine 30 plus 45 degree, which is still the same thing with what I need. So then after that, I need to apply what we call the addition formula. There's particular rule you have to use to this. That's trig identity for sine A plus B. This thing here, according to trig identity, it says that if you have sine A plus B, it says the final answer is take sine and then cos. Do you understand that? Sine cos, then when you have plus, you have a plus here. Sine cos, then what is the opposite of what I've just done? Cos sine. And you know, no matter you write a sine, you need an angle, right? So accordingly, you have A first, B first. So you fill it up accordingly. You have A here, B here. So you have A here, B here. So therefore, sine A plus B will give us sine A cos B plus cos A sine B. So that's what I'm going to use here. What was sine 30 plus 45? This is A and this is B. So using this identity here, I will have sine 30 cos 45. Do you understand that? This A, this B. Plus, the opposite is cos and sine, right? So what is A? That's cos 30. And B is what? Cos 45. Now, directly from here, you just make use of that shortcut I've just explained to you. What's sine 30? This is 30. Draw it down. That's square root of 1 over 2. And that's 1 over 2. Times, what's cos 45? This 45 here. And that will be square root of, count the numbers you have after. If it is cos, 1, 2, 2 fingers. That's square root of 2 over 2. Plus, what is cos 30? This is 30. Count the numbers you have after. 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 fingers. That's square root of 3 over 2. Times, what's sine 45? This 45. Sine says count the numbers of fingers you have before this position. That's 1, 2. So I have square root of 2 over 2. So trivially, we have multiply this and this together added with this. So when you multiply this and this, you should have square root of 2 over 4. And then this will give us what? Square root of 6 over 4. Right? So from here, the SCM become 4. So what do you have left? Square root of 2 plus square root of 6. So this gives the final answer to what you're actually looking for. But at the same time, we can break this down. Yes, we can. So if you want to find sine 75 without using table, this is the final answer. But if you don't see this in the option, it is very, very certain that you might not see this in the option. So when I press sine 75 here, see what I have. Okay, it is correct. You see, it is the same thing. I have square root of 6 plus square root of 2 over 4. But there's some case whereby they will decide to break this down. So like this is what I'm trying to say. Notice where we stop. We stop at square root of 2 plus, you see this square root of 6. I can write it as square root of 3 times square root of 2 over 4. Such that I will tell you that square root of 2 is common. So if square root of 2 is common, to cancel away. If it cancel this, I have 1. Plus if it cancel this, I will have root 3. Then divided by 4. So is it that you see this in the option or you see something like this in the option? So it depends. And at the same time, they can decide to move forward again and decide not to leave this as the final answer. This is square root of 2. This is 4 here. So at the same time, so I want to try to show you something. So I actually stop. See, you don't have to confuse yourself. This is your final answer for that question. The final answer is square root of 2 plus square root of 6 over 4. So as far calculator have confirmed that for us. So I just want to try to break it down to some extent. So this is where we stop. We have square root of 2, 1 plus square root of 3 divided by 4. Here in this case, I have invisible 1 here and I have 4. So I can write this thing as 1 over 4 times square root of 2 times 1 plus square root of 3. This and this are still saying the same thing. They are still the same. I can write it like this, such that from the rule of surd, if you have 1 over 4 times square root of 2, this one is still there, right? There is one thing that is going to happen here. From rule of surd, if you have a root b, for this a to come inside, you take the square of it. That's for a to go inside, you have a squared times b. That means if you have 2 root 5, for this 2 to come inside, you should have 2 squared times what you have inside. That will give us 4 times 5. That's square root of 20. So similarly from here, I will have square root of This 1 over 4 will come inside. That is 1 over 4 squared times 2. So 1 plus square root of 3. And then I'll have square root of, when I square 1 over 4, I should have 1 over 16 times 2. Then with 1 plus root 3. 2 cancel 16, I have square root of 1 over 8. Then I have what? 1 plus square root of 3. So at the end of the day, we can write this thing as saying we have square root of 1 over square root of 8, 1 plus square root of 3. Final answer, 1 over root 8 times 1 plus square root of 3. So you can see that question in different form. In fact, they can still decide to even rationalize it by saying multiply by root 8 by root 8. So final answer will be square root of 8, then 1 plus square root of 3 over 8. So it depends. But the correct answer to that question is this. The best answer for you to stop, just stop here. Okay, so that's how it works. Thank you.